All right, what's up? What's up out there? Can you guys hear me good? I just want to make the few of you that's on, make sure you guys can hear me. Pull this chat up. All right, just give me a shout out in the chat if you can hear me. Well, actually, got it back here. Oh, yeah. All right, man, I got something. I've watched this guy. I'm not sure what his name is, but I've seen a lot of his videos. And he's talking about, the question is, do you think most women want to work? And he has an answer to that, which I think is very profound. And when you really look at it, it goes to say what I talk about, the whole working, getting up to the 9 to 5 and going into that grind every day. You're basically a slave. And he's going to break it down. I'm going to let y'all hear what he has to say.
Most women want to have a career.
Well, I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that for a second. You're telling me what you've been told and what you've been told to believe, not what you actually believe and not what's actually the case. I don't believe for a second that most women want to work and most women want to have a career. That's PR. That's propaganda. I mean, you can't say honestly that you think that most women want to work and also say that women have equal intelligence as men, because if they have equal intelligence as men, what intelligent person would choose to work if they had a choice not to? I know a man wouldn't if given the choice. No, I know that most women don't want to work. I don't need to see the statistics. I know that most women don't want to work because I work. So I know what it's like. No, you can only convince a woman or anyone else
That's facts right there.
that it's wonderful. It's just so fulfilling to dress up in business clothes and go to an office all day. If they've never worked, you can maybe sell that message to young,
That is a fact. Like, they sell that message to the young and give them excited to get a job. I'm just recalling back when I was young and I was being promoted the idea of getting a good job or getting a job. Simply just get a job. And the masses push that narrative. Our parents, our grandparents, oh, he's got this job. He's going to school so he can be this. And you're promoted from a very early on age. What do you want to be when you grow up? And when you really think about that question, what do you want to be when you grow up? The question is really they want to say is, are you going to be what I want you to be? A wage slave. No matter what they want. And the idea is never, when I've asked that question, I never had the idea in my mind, what do you want to be when you grow up? That, do you want to be a leader? You want to have your own business? I'm not thinking that. And I would tell you, most people are not thinking that when they're talking to their children or any young person when they ask them that question. The energy in their mind, the thoughts in their mind, what's in their consciousness, are you going to be like everyone else and get a job and be a slave wage or a wage slave? That's the question. And that energy is being promoted all the time. And we wonder why a majority of society is dysfunctional, because we're starting off with dysfunctional ideas of success. But let me let him finish.
Experienced people, but anyone who has been in the workforce for any length of time will tell you it is not exactly living the dream. But you know who is living the dream? You know who really is living the dream? Married women in Dubai, married women in Saudi Arabia, and not just because they get to go on shopping sprees with their husbands, gold credit cards, but because due to the fact that they have so much support from their family, so much support from their husbands, so much support from their fathers, so much support from what you would call patriarchy. You probably didn't know that women in the UAE and women in Saudi Arabia own a higher percentage of small and medium-sized businesses than women in America.
Now, did you hear what he just said? Now, these are the countries they promote that they're being oppressed, they're slaves, they're being dominated by their men. But he's saying they own businesses, that they're being supported. They are going on shopping sprees. See, if you haven't lived in these places, you don't know exactly what's going on. The mainstream narrative is always going to promote other countries and put them down to keep this narrative going over here, that we got something better, and we don't have something better here. When it comes to the whole work environment, people working 20, 30, 40 years, the best years of their life, just to retire on a median income. They're not retiring with wealth and a legacy they can leave and pass on. They might be able to leave something behind, but it's not enough for that next generation to pass it on and continue on a legacy of wealth and freedom from being working or having a job. This whole idea that being a responsible adult is to get up and go find a job so you could just pay bills is total nonsense. And the more every day I think about it, I see how much of a play on our control of our wealth it has been, especially in my life and the people that I see. I don't talk to anyone, for the most part, that say they enjoy getting up and going to work every day. See, they push the narrative on the women because they know our women have a very profound effect on us, meaning as men, we are born with the desire to take care of our family and our women and protect and provide. That's what our desire. This new age men that we have now have been programmed against those ideas. But the old school men, we feel like he's going to tell most men, we don't really want to go out there and work. But we have a sense of duty and responsibility, and we do it because we know we have to. When a woman goes to work, she does it because she have to as a survival mechanism, but she definitely does not really want to do that. See, a sense of responsibility from a female perspective is nurturing and taking care of the family, taking care of the home, and making sure the family is comfortable and that money that man is bringing in, that it's being spent responsibly. That's not a servitude position. That is a very serious responsibility that women have. The first serious responsibility is to bring children into the world. That is a huge responsibility. Without that, none of us would be here. So the mainstream has pushed and twisted the true values of what family and responsibility and love and care and nurturing really is. And this is why we have dysfunction. This is why our divorce rate is high. Because no one knows what they're supposed to be doing in those marriages. There's a battle for control. But let's keep going.
By at least 10%. That's ownership. That's entrepreneurship, not employeeship. But of course, they're oppressed, right? Most people don't want to work. Now, obviously, there are exceptions. And there are people who can, genuinely derive a lot of satisfaction from their work. But we all know that they could find infinite other ways to achieve that and better than that level of satisfaction if they weren't wage slaves and had control of their time. Should women have the right to work? You understand what incredibly deceptive language that is? In your society, do they have the right not to work? That's a better question. I mean, look at how they manipulate language around this issue. Instead of just saying you have to work, they say that you have a career or you have a job, as if it's something that you gained, as if it's something, something that you have. See how they played us?
Oh, you have a right to work. And then they push the narrative on, you have a right to work. You have the right to make as much money as your husband. You have a right to do this. But here's the thing. If both people are out there trying to make it the same amount of money or as much money as each other, what's happening to the family structure? Somebody's got to, it's like any job, right? I own a business. I own a trucking company, right? I own it, and there's people that work for me. Can the people that work for me hold the same position I have? No. They have a role. If they're a truck driver, their role is to truck drive. Doesn't make me better than them, but they have a role in order to make money for themselves and to make money for the company. They have to pick up loads, drop them off, and do them in a professional and safe manner. Whereas me, as the owner, I have to provide the equipment, the insurance, and the pay, and the structure for them to be able to work in. Same thing with a home. Men and women have positions that they hold. Traditional society, the man goes out there and make the work, make the money. He provides protection and provisions. And alongside his wife, they determine how that money is going to be spent to take care of the welfare of the family. The woman, if she's not working, she's home taking care of the home, managing that function, making sure the home is what it needs to be so that everyone can be comfortable. Everybody can't hold the same position and keep a functioning environment. It doesn't make one person's position less or more than the other. Everyone knows their function and they fulfill it to the best of their ability. It's just part of how units work or a unit society works. See, the narrative that they pushed out there, because they place so much value on money, because the one who makes the money is the one who's supposed to be the boss. But really, real men know that just because he makes all the money doesn't make him the total boss. Because if you don't know this, most men, even myself included, when I make money, the first thing I'm thinking about, okay, if I make a bad decision with this money, what's my wife going to say? What's my family going to say? How are they going to look at me with that if you're a responsible man? So I know most situations, many situations where the man is consulting with the wife about how that money is spent. But at the same time, my best friend who I grew up with, he is the head of the household when it comes to money. Both him and his wife work, but his wife looks to him for the leadership on how to spend the money. Because why? He's very good at budgeting. And guess what? He does all of the cooking too. So he makes the bulk of the money and he does the cooking. So in their house, they live a very good household because everyone knows their position. Everyone knows their strength and their weaknesses. That's all we need. We need to know what the strengths are of one person and their weaknesses, and where those weaknesses are, we fill in the gaps. Period. It's not about one being control or over the other. That's the dysfunction that they want to promote, and this is why everybody's fighting. That's why we have the battle of the sexes, because we're buying into propaganda, as he said. But let's keep going.
They talk about all the things that you lose by having that, all the things that you have to let go in order to keep hold of that job. They say you have a career, but what they mean is your employer has you. And that's where you spend most of your time. That's where you spend, most of your waking hours, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, plus however long it takes you to commute. So maybe up to around half of a 24-hour day. You're either going to work, at work, or coming home from work. And then you get, if you're lucky, maybe 4 to 5 hours a day off, 4 to 5 hours a day left of free time. Look at that phrase, free time. Because, yes, in your free, democratic, liberated, independent country, most citizens only get about 4 to 5 hours a day of freedom, because the rest of the time you're at work, and work is extremely not democratic, not free, and you have no independence. You know, you do what you're told, you wear what you're told, you eat when they let you. Your time is not your own. In some places, you even have to ask permission to use the restroom.
Let me stop right there. That may, a lot of brothers complain that their women don't follow them or listen to them, right? I've had that complaint, right? But listen at what he said. If you look a little deeper, maybe that's why they don't listen, because they have to go to work and they're listening to someone all day. They're tired of being a follower, tired of being a slave to someone else. So they just want to get the freedom from that when they come home. Maybe that's the core reason why a lot of women are not so cooperative. And I know it's like oxymoron, like most of them want the career and they want the work, but they don't realize why they don't want to come home and be so cooperative. They haven't made that connection. Maybe because all day you just been, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, following orders all day. Who wants to do that 24/7? So when the husband just says simply, can you make me a sandwich, that becomes a problem. They've been following orders all day. Now they're coming home and you're asking for a simple sandwich. And to you, it's simple, but to them, it's not so simple because they just been doing it all the time. Now, I do know there's just some people or women out there that just don't want to follow a man, period. I get that. I'm not talking about those women. I'm talking about the women who just are exhausted from doing things all day. And I'm of the belief that men are designed to take those type of environments and can handle them and compartmentalize them better in a lot of ways. So I just want to throw that out there. It's something to think about. Sometimes we are quick to judge things, but we really look beneath the surface of it and really look deeper. We start to see this whole wage slave environment that we're living in, this culture, is creating the division itself. So it's not really the man or the woman that's the real problem. The real problem is our belief in this system and the current standards of how we're supposed to make money and survive is what is causing the divide. The issues that the men and women having are what you call the symptoms of this current system and how we're doing things. So let me let him finish.
True. So most of your waking hours are actually spent in a thoroughly totalitarian environment, in the land of the free and the home of the brave. And you get maybe 4 to 5 hours a day of freedom. And you're telling me that women want that?
You get the weekend sometimes.
The system wants that for women. And it has made it largely unavoidable because the cost of living is too high. Or anyway, the cost of supporting the lifestyle, maintaining the lifestyle that your society teaches you that you must have if you are to be regarded as a worthwhile and successful human being. They made it necessary for women to work. And human beings have a great capacity to convince themselves that they are actually in favor of things that have been imposed upon them. So they tell themselves that they actually want the thing that they have no choice but to accept. Then, of course, on top of that, you have all this propaganda about how wonderful and how fulfilling it is to sell your time and your labor to an employer.
Yeah, man, this is straight facts, right? They have sold you on your old slavery. You bought into it. Oh, I got it. So excited. I got a job. And you brag. And, well, I got this job. And then after some time, you realize this job ain't jack. I don't want this. I don't really want this. Make money like this. I wish I could do something else.
Rent yourself out to your employer. And you have people, excuse me, but like yourself, spreading the propaganda. It's no different really from, how you have women in human trafficking networks, women who procure women for the traffickers. It's basically the same thing. It's just different in the severity of the consequences, but both types of people.
Wow. He said, man, and I agree with that. We, just women and men, are complicit in promoting these ideals, in selling our children and sacrificing our children into slavery. First slavery, we put them into indoctrination camps called the educational public school system, and then we push them into being wage slaves. I mean, it's a hard-hitting truth. Even for me, myself, it was hard when I realized it. And we wonder why we're not happy. Wonder why we feel like we're not fulfilled. We're not fulfilling God's purpose for us, to have dominion over all things, to be the owner and not the employee. That's not what God wanted us to be. This is what man wanted us to be, so that he can make money off of us. It's that simple.
Are lying and making false promises about the servitude and drudgery that they are actually dragging women into on the basis of, promises of how wonderful it's going to be and how much they deserve all of the great things that are going to come to you if you listen to me and do what I said. But actually, you're just going to become a wage slave. Just like in a human trafficking day, you're going to become an actual slave. And it's the same for everybody. I mean, if you could actually remove from the workforce everyone who does not genuinely find fulfillment and satisfaction from their job, you would have extremely few workers left of either sex. Men find fulfillment, usually not from the work itself. Most of the time, it's not from the work itself, but it's from the fact that they are successfully providing for their families. So they sell their souls to the company store, as the old song says, for the sake of their loved ones. And they find some level of gratification from that, and it gives them a sense of purpose, even doing the most, mundane, difficult, and tedious work. And there's honor in that, because it involves a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice that you do for your family. But no, most women don't want to work, because of course they don't. Most people don't want to work. So, think it through. There are exceptions, but exceptions notwithstanding, most people don't want to work, but you have to be propagandized into it. This is propaganda. It's just like when Edward Bernays, the father of modern PR, got women to start smoking cigarettes for his customer, for his client, by connecting the smoking of cigarettes with women's lib. Just as that was unhealthy for women, this is unhealthy for women. Just as that was for the sake of someone else's profits, so is this. It's just propaganda. But don't at least tell yourself that this is good for you and you want it, just because it's what business wants for you. When women go to the workplace, they're not breaking down barriers. They are erecting barriers around themselves. And men know that, because we've been in those barriers all our lives. We know what it's like to be in the workplace. We know that all of this propaganda is propaganda. It's not a wonderful thing to go out into the workforce. Women have, the domestic life of women traditionally has been a socialist utopia. Why would you leave that?
After seeing that video, I have to really reevaluate.
Let me skip forward. Oh, that was it. All right, that's it right there. Let me go to my main screen. So, there you have it. And I laugh because it's so obvious once you come out of the situation, you can see it clearly. But to try to convince people that they're in that, built a wall around themselves by way of the choices that they made and what they chose to believe in about what is to be successful, what it is to be successful. And see, and the sad part about it, we see success stories around us all the time. We see people owning business, but most people don't make the connection that they can do it themselves. They don't make to get the connection that they can do it simply by just believing that they can do it. That's where you got to start. You have to see it in your mind. You have to believe you can do it. And you have to deny and defy anything that says you can't. The first denial you have to do is deny yourself in that devilish side of you that wants to go against you when you're trying to make these transitions, because you're so programmed into this, hardwired into this society, that it takes time to unplug. And the second one is the family members say, hey, you know what? You got to hold on the job. You got to get the benefits, just in case you go to the doctor, this and that. I really don't like talking to people about anything medical when it comes to me. Because the first thing they want, go to the doctor. The doctors are the ones at the third leading cause of people's death in this country. That's the statistics that they agree to. So why would I go to someone who's number 3 on the hit list, on the murder list, or the death list? Why would I go to number 3? Oh, but you never know this and that. Listen, if you study hard and you know how your body works, your body is fighting. Whatever you're going through, your body is fighting to repair it. All you need to do is give it the right nutrition and it will fix itself. So that means you need to study your body. When I say love yourself, I said that in my last message. When I say love yourself, loving yourself is part of knowing how your body functions and what nutrients it needs in order to have an optimum lifestyle. You have to take ownership of that. Stop letting people tell you what your body is, because what's good for some people is not. Some herbs is not good for some people, and some herbs is good. So you got to know what your body needs and what you need. Take your health into your own hands and stop letting people tell you what's wrong with you, and you figure out what's wrong for yourself. How do I know that? I didn't go to school and get these degrees, and you don't need that. There's plenty of people out here that have been successful at curing or healing themselves from many of these so-called mainstream labeled diseases. And a lot of these labels are patented so they can make money off of it. See, the reason why people get in trouble, I'm just on the side note, the reason why people get in trouble for practicing medicine without licenses, because what they'll say is, what I can do can cure whatever the name of that disease that or the current pharmaceutical structure has labeled that. See, you can't say that, because that name belongs to them. So you can't use what you say you cured for that. You just say, hey, I just brought the body back to God's natural state. That's it. Stay away from their words. Just like they use the word, you have the right to work. And I got a right. I got a right to do what, really? Go into this slave environment and have to follow instructions for the most of my day. Then I'm exhausted from being somebody's slave, because God didn't make us that way. Then I go home and now I'm required, or I'm supposed to cook, clean, and keep the house in order. That's a lot. Our women wasn't designed to do that on a regular basis. We as men were designed to take the heavy lifting, to do that. That's what we do. Show our strength. A lot of men have been showing their strength in a dysfunctional way. So I hope this video helped you to realize that. And I only did this video to jolt the few, to wake up the few that know that we're coming into January 1. Do you want 2024 to be better than it was, than this year? Do you want to go into 2024 and continue that same get up every day, going to somebody's job? Do you want that for yourself? If you want that, that's fine. This is not for you. This message is not for you. But those of you who are tired of this rat race, it's time for you to do something. And the first thing you need to do is get up off your ass and start reading and studying and taking control of your life. That's the first thing. Make a decision that you don't want this anymore. I want something better for myself, and start working towards it. It's going to be a long and hard road. The Bible says the road leading off to everlasting life and peace and happiness is narrow and cramped. Very hard to stay on that road. Why? Because the road leading off to destruction is so broad and spacious. Everybody's finding that. And the ones that find it are trying to drag you over there. So in order to not get on that road, what you got to do? You have to first get rid of the bad associations, whether it be what you're watching on TV, who you associating with, who you are talking with, who you are spending a lot of time with. I try not to spend time with a lot of people who are wage slaves. They're good people, nothing wrong. The only thing wrong with them is they believe that that's the right way to live. What happens if you get into the energy with these people, you start thinking about getting a job, being just like them. See, who you hang around, you start to assimilate and pick up similar habits. It's just the way we are as people. We have to realize that, because I know how we are as people. I stay mostly to myself because there ain't too many people in my circle that I know that I could, they have jobs. So I spend most of my time with who? Me. Because I don't have no job like that. Thankfully for my followers and my supporters, they provide, for the work I provide them, they help me maintain my employerless lifestyle. I'm just trying to show you how to do the same thing. Only person that can show you how to be employerless is someone who's employerless. I'm not saying I do it all perfect. There's a lot more improvement that I need to make. But, hey, 2014. We in 2023. I'm hitting 9 years. I can say I'm doing good. And I live a pretty good lifestyle. So, hey, a new program is coming. I'm going to launch it soon, where I will walk you through the steps, help you, be like a person who can guide you away from that 9 to 5. That's coming. Hopefully before January 1. I got to get with the people. We got to get it all worked out, but it's coming. But anyway, I hope that this inspired you to make a change and do something different and live your life according to what you were called to be. Have the wealth, the peace, the happiness that you're looking for. With that being said, peace, prosperity, and extreme wealth to all.